introduction here to welcome you all to the session of the QM East Regional Conference titled, Are We There Yet? Pack Your Bags for a Design Trip Using the QM Rubric. So please join me in welcoming your presenters who will now begin to introduce themselves and begin the presentation.
Thanks, Jillian. My name is Patti Brown, and I'm the instructional designer at Stark State College. We're located here in North Canton, Ohio. And I'm going to jump right into my PowerPoint presentation. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And as I said, I'm at Stark State College. We have a small but mighty team there. And my topic today is, Are we there yet? Pack your bags for a design trip using the QM rubric. When I created this presentation, little did I know that when I was actually going to present it, nobody would be able to travel. So it's kind of ironic that we're going to talk about going on a trip. So you're going to have to go back into your memory banks to remember what it was like when we traveled. As I set up the theme of how you can bring quality into your institution, and I like to talk about quality one course at a time. Here's some things that we're going to cover today. First of all, we're going to talk about where we're going. I'm going to talk about mapping the trip. And in our institution, I'm going to talk about it very briefly from an institutional level, but more specifically from an individual course and working with faculty. As an instructional designer, my primary role at Stark State is working with faculty and working on course design. I'm also an adjunct instructor, so I also get to teach, so I can also bring some of that teaching experience as well. And I've been teaching online since about 2009. So I can bring some of that experience well, but specifically talking about mapping the trip. And then we're going to talk about, are we there yet? Taking the trip. So I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to actually show you what I'm calling a QM for design worksheet that will take you through and work with a faculty to go through the entire design process, while at the same time making sure we're meeting all of the Quality Matters standards. And in a sense, you're going to be designing the course and doing an internal review at the same time. So at the end of the design process, you would be fairly confident that this course would meet all the standards if you send it for an official review as well. And we'll talk about that too. And then finally, we're going to talk about have we arrived? And I'll share my experiences and also share what faculty provided with me, some of their feedback as I used them initially as the guinea pigs when I first started this worksheet, and then how we've used it really throughout the institution now. And I'm finding that more and more faculty, as they're hearing about this design process that we're going through, is they're coming to me now and wanting their courses to be designed instead of waiting until they have a contract and then they're going to design their course. So we're going to be first talking about, where are we going? As I started to work through this particular worksheet, this was, and Sasha talked about this today, going through an LMS change. I was part of the team that went through an LMS change between the years of 15 and 16 and 17, and even back into 14. So there was quite a few years of going through this transition phase. And unfortunately, Quality Matters at our institution had to be laid aside. We were a small team. There's only 3 of us and about 900 faculty, and we just had to pick and choose. But recently, in the last 2 years, we've been able to pick back up a more intentional Quality Matters and quality initiative. So this slide really indicates that it took a little bit of time as I became the Quality Matters coordinator to start championing Quality Matters again. Of course, my boss and our department were always on board, but it was getting kind of reintroducing Quality Matters to the powers that be, our provost, the deans, the department chairs. So I did that legwork as well. So I wanted to get everyone on that path again to say, hey, don't forget, we have Quality Matters. and it's a great program, and let's start using it again to the best of the ability that we can use it. Now, on an individual level, as an instructional designer, I work every day with faculty designing courses. And over the years, I've noticed that we both have the same goal. We want to design a quality course. Yet, a lot of times we would get off the path and faculty would go one way and I was going the other way. And sometimes we thought we were ending up at the same place, but we really weren't. Faculty would say, here's my course. And I would look at it and realize that I wish we would have stayed on the same path throughout the design process. So I had been looking for something that would keep myself and the faculty on the same path as we were designing. And I actually went to a Quality Matters webinar, a little shout out to the Success Story webinars. And Stella Porto, I always have to give her a shout out, she had the concept of QM for design. So using the Quality Matters rubric in the design process. I always thought of the rubric as something at the end that, oh, okay, the course is done. Now I'll bring in the rubric and make sure it's good. So as silly as it sounds, I thought that was the most amazing concept ever, is to use the rubric while I was designing the course. And to me, I call it, for purposes of this presentation, I call it my GPS, that I wanted to make sure this was a great tool to keep myself and the faculty on one path toward quality as we were designing the course. I didn't want to get to the end and then bring it in. I wanted to use it through the whole process. It was a great way for me to also introduce the rubric. We do have some faculty that are trained. We need to start getting more faculty trained with applying the QM rubric. We do have a training program where they're introduced when they're designing courses. They have to go through a Design Matters class that covers a lot of the Quality Matters principles, and we go over some of this worksheet. But this was a great tool for me to keep everyone on track going toward a quality course. And I'm going to show you the spreadsheet in a little more detail, but I just want to give you a brief view of it. So this concept allows me to reorganize the rubric based on the design principles. Now, I was a little nervous doing anything with the rubric, and I did get permission, and I've been blessed by everyone that needs to bless it, that I was able to kind of reorganize the rubric just for the design process. And you'll see at the end, I do have a one-tab checklist that's a great tool as well to say, hey, where are we in the design process? What standards are we still in the process of meeting? I never tell a faculty, well, you haven't met it. I always say, well, we're in the process of meeting it, and here's some things that we still need to work on to meet that particular objective. So mapping the trip. Now, let's talk about what actually happens. So as we're working through the process, you know, I meet with the faculty and we go through that initial meeting, and it's just all wonderful because we're going to create the most amazing online course there is. And here's where reality sometimes hits. And usually when I'm presenting this, I ask everyone, and you can maybe type in the chat if you want, which one is the faculty and which one might be the instructional designer, the driver or the passenger? And I have to admit that I've probably been both of those. I've been the driver and I've also been the passenger. So yeah, it depends on the day. It's true. So that's sometimes I think what faculty feel like when they come and talk to us and they don't know what's going on. Sometimes I'm the driver or I'm the passenger saying, okay, well, maybe we need to work on this. So this particular worksheet helped me to avoid images like that. So I don't know who you think you are, but I definitely agree it could depend on the day as we take this design trip. So the goal would be to pack our bags and to set off on this journey that may take a couple months. So another benefit of this worksheet that I have found is that it helps me in even the project management of course design, because I can tell the faculty maybe 2 months into it, we'll pull up the worksheet. Okay, here are the standards that we still need to take a look at. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that. I'm going to jump into my worksheet. So here's an example of this worksheet, and I'll let you know up front that I have been given permission to email this worksheet out to anybody that requests it. You have to be a Quality Matters member. And the only restriction is that, I guess there's two major restrictions. One is you cannot share this outside your institution. It's a worksheet that you can use as a member. And then the second thing is you can't make any changes to the worksheet other than a couple that I'll share as you make it your own for each particular course that you're looking at. At the end, the last slide I will have, and I also did upload this PowerPoint presentation in the portal. And on the last slide, there will be a URL to a Google form that you can fill out and request it, and I'll get those out to everybody. Okay. So this Excel spreadsheet is interactive and integrative. Now, I'll tell you up front a couple things that I found when I initially started to use this. Number one, faculty got really overwhelmed when I showed them this. They were like, what? So I caution you on how you present it. I've learned to present it slowly, and as I talk about what we're going to be going through. And I use it now as a tool to talk about how we're going to make a quality course based on standards of best practices. This isn't based on what Patti thinks is a good course. This is based on Quality Matters, peer-reviewed, best practices. And that really hits home for faculty. These are standards that I'm just not making up. And it's not even standards that Stark State is forcing upon them. These are standards that really work. So I've learned to introduce it, and I've also learned to introduce it as a project management. And to say, hey, we're going to know where we are in the process of creating this quality course as we work through this worksheet. The other thing I want to tell you as I'm using this is I fill out 98% of this worksheet. I don't expect the faculty to know Excel and to fill all this out. There are a few things that I do ask the faculty to do, and I'll show you those in a second. My job, I don't want the faculty to be overwhelmed by one more thing they have to do, but as an instructional designer, this is an excellent tool for me to then work with them. I have found in the last probably 6 months, and I've been doing this since December of 2019, and I have 37 courses that have gone through this full process and have earned our internal badging. But I have noticed that faculty now that I've slowly introduced the worksheet, the faculty want the worksheet now up front and not toward the end, which is it's a big shift for me. And I wasn't expecting that, but I think as they've realized the benefit of this worksheet, they've asked for it more and more. So let me show you a little bit of it here. The first tab is just a simple overview, and I have been given Chip's permission to share this with you. So I have the name, the ID. Our modality of Web3 is our fully online. That's important to me as an instructor and instructional designer, and for the instructor to know what type of a course are we designing for. Because it's going to be different if it's what we call Web 2, which is you would know it as a hybrid class. And then I think it's very important that we include the course description. I've had several situations where I've looked at the description, then I've looked at the course learning objectives and the weekly learning objectives, and we've had to have some conversations about that. So I think it's important to always have in the back of your mind, what type of a course are we looking at as we're designing this? So this is some basic information. Then, as we get through the meat of this particular worksheet, this is how you can use your worksheet to do a couple things. Again, to go through the design process, and also to conduct an internal QM review at the same time. And I'll also share with you that I've done a couple official QM reviews, and I actually used this worksheet to do that. And then I simply copied and pasted my evidence into the official website. So that's another option that you can use. But you'll notice what I did is I pulled out specific standards that I felt best matched the idea of a course overview and introduction. And notice that there's not all of them here. I have one standard out of 3, I have a couple out of 6, and I have a few out of 7. So I strategically move them onto this tab because as I'm going through the overview with the faculty and I'm reviewing the course, then I want to make sure I'm reviewing it based on the standards that best fit that. I put an X if the standard, in my opinion, has been met. And you'll notice that there's an IP. I never, like I said before, I never want to just initially say that it's just not met because we're in the process of designing the class. So I use an IP and I specifically make it green because I want this to be a positive experience. I initially started with red and I didn't think that looked very good to have a lot of red on the page. So I decided to go with more of a green just to show that, hey, we're still working on this. I explained to the faculty that we're still in process and that these are the conversations that we can have. On this particular tab, just so you know, we have designed our master course templates specifically to meet all of these standards. So if the faculty is using our template, pretty much all of these will be almost automatically met. There are a few things like the self-introduction that sometimes I have to remind the faculty, okay, we do need to add your own introduction. Course grading policies, we already have them in there. So these are some standard areas. But again, I can talk to my faculty about these particular areas, again, based on the rubric. Then let's go to a really important tab, the objectives tab. This is where I have probably the majority of my conversations with faculty. And here's how I work through it. The faculty, every course goes through a curriculum committee and they have their course learning objectives defined at that level. Then I will put them in here. Then I will go through the course as the faculty is building it and we'll put in the weekly, sometimes it's module, sometimes it's unit, whatever the breakdown is. And then what I'm going to ask the faculty to do is I'm going to ask the faculty, we're going to do some mapping. So how do these course learning objectives, weekly, align back with your course learning objectives? And they will come in here and literally they would just type 1 or 2. You know, they don't have to get too fancy here. They're just going to type in. Some of them actually put the wording in here. But the exercise that they will go through, and I'll just kind of scroll down, you'll see all of these. So all of these weeks, all of these weekly learning objectives will be mapped back to the course level learning objectives. And it's a great exercise for the faculty to really think through their weekly learning objectives and are they aligning back to their course level. Another thing that they'll notice right away is maybe they're not hitting a course learning objective at the level that they thought they did. So this is a great visual map for them to take a look at it. Once this bottom part is filled out, then I can come in here and I can start my review and talk to the faculty about are the course learning objectives measurable? Are they weekly and are they aligned? Are they consistent? I'll tell you, almost every single course I work with, this is always in process because the instructor is working through those mapping process. But that's okay. That's, again, remember, this is a design process as well, but it's very strategic because we're already designing it based on Quality Matters standard. So I will have the faculty at some point during this process, usually very early on, will be doing the alignments. And some, I'll just make a little side note. And one of the, I've noticed lately that because I've had more intentional conversations about mapping, I have been able to do some of the mapping even before the faculty gets to this part of the worksheet, because the weekly learning objectives are so well written that I can link them back to the course level. I mean, not always, because I'm not a subject matter expert, but I think that shows the level of how well they're working through this particular objective mapping. So we've got the evidence down here, and then I will review it up here. Another important tab that we work through is our activities and resources. Now, when I talked about this as being integrative, let me just give you an example. Whatever I type in these columns here, these fields, will automatically appear over here. So I don't have to retype a lot of things. So it's automatically showing up over here. So it's very integrative, and I don't have to redo all this. But this particular tab, notice that I've pulled out a lot of standards, not all of them, because they're strategically aligned with the design process. So a lot of this is looking at learning objectives, a relationship. Notice all these in process, because again, we're still working through it. I make some suggestions as needed, some of these in process. But here's where the rubber meets the road. This is where I'm going to work with the faculty, and as they're designing the course and as we're looking at it, we're going to put our learning activities and our assessments here. We're going to look at what sort of material aligns back to that. And then, as important, we're going to talk about how are these assessments measuring the learning objectives. So it's a very good visual for the faculty to see the whole process. What does their course look like? And I've had faculty look at this, and I've mentioned to them, well, you have 20 weekly learning objectives, so, and you have 2 assignments. Now, that could be valid, but we need to look at all of those weekly learning objectives. Are you really assessing all of them? And if not, then maybe we need to add an assessment. So we've had faculty go both ways, that, oh, maybe I need to look at my assessments, and maybe I need to look at the material that I'm using. All of this down here will help us as we are meeting the standards here, as we take a look at, is the instructional material contributing to the achievement of the stated learning objective? Well, I don't know. Let's look at that here. So this tab is just as important as we break down the activities and resources. And then another interactive part of this is if I type over here and I pull in these learning activities, it will automatically appear here. So again, it's integrative. I don't have to type things twice. But here's where we're going to look at the assessments, and are they measuring the learning objectives, and are they suited? Are they varied and sequenced? This is a great way to look at varied. I had a sociology course once that I reviewed, and it wasn't Chuck's. I'm going to call you out, Chuck. It wasn't you, but I had a sociology course that it was completely online. And the only assessments that they had were 4 exams and 1 paper. Now, so I could use this spreadsheet to look at this with the faculty, and you only see in a 16-week period 4 assessments. Okay, let's look at that. That to me would be an in-process standard that we still need to take a look at. Those are the conversations that I can have with faculty, and I can have them based on a worksheet like this where they can visually see. This would look very empty if you went 3 or 4 weeks with absolutely nothing. Okay, so that's that particular tab. We use Blackboard, and I have been able to, we can do assessments on our courses based on course learning objectives. So I ask my faculty now, as they're going through this process, even though this isn't a QM standard, it's still valid. We're taking all of our learning, all our assessments. And again, I didn't type anything here. This all came from this particular tab, so I only have to type it in once. So all of these populated here, and then I'm going to ask the faculty, okay, can you tell me how this project relates back to these course learning objectives? And then they will fill out this chart for me. Again, it's a great opportunity for them to see And I've had instances where, let's say that course learning objective 7, we have nothing here, excuse me, or we have 1. That's a good visual for a faculty to see, okay, maybe I need to make some adjustments based on this particular learning objective. So again, it's a great visual. It's a good holistic view of this. And then of course we can't forget about accessibility. So I pulled out, not all of them, but on a specific tab, we look at accessibility. A lot of times if they're using our template and they're using our master course template, these two are pretty much done. They usually are always met. Of course, we have to take a look at this a little bit further as if they use any sort of vendor. But again, this is another great conversation to talk about. Oh, okay, we are using Cengage MindTap, so we need to have some information for that particular vendor. So it's a good way as a reminder to them what we need to do. And this is probably my most favorite tab. This is the final checklist. Now, you'll notice that the Quality Matter rubrics is fully organized the way it would normally be. There are no changes over here. This is a tab that I do not touch. I do not type one single thing on here. All of this comes from all these other tabs. So at the end, as I'm working through the faculty, we can literally just go to one tab if I want and talk about, okay, here's where we are, and here's what we need to do to meet these particular standards. So they can visually see as we're working through the design process where we are. Have we met all of the standards yet? What do we still need to work on? So that's I wanted to show you a spreadsheet that I would be working through. And like I said, when I actually have used this for an official review, just as a worksheet on my own before I actually get to the Quality Matters website. And then once I was done, I just copied and pasted this particular information. So that's another help for you as well. I want to show you now, I'm going to jump real quick here into a completed worksheet, just to give you an idea what it would look like at the end. So now I've finished working with this particular faculty, and you'll notice now that all the IPs have turned into regular X's. Now notice here on the objectives tabs, this is where I had the faculty come in here and go through the process, the exercise of making sure all of these weekly learning objectives are aligning back to our course level. So you can see all these. And I know for a fact that this particular faculty was very, I think he was a little surprised at some of his course learning objectives weren't quite being met. And that happens a lot. It happened on my own personal course that I was working through, that you kind of forget about those course learning objectives. And then you think, oh, okay, I need to address that for student learning. So you can see that has been filled out. So now I could come in here and show that is met. Notice that there were all green, a lot of green in here. Again, as I had the faculty work through alignments, then, and again, I know for a fact that this faculty changed some of their assessments based on working through this entire process. And then I'll show you this one tab because you can see all the X's in here. Again, it gives them a very good visual that they can see how their particular course is. Are they truly assessing what they want to assess? And then what's nice about Blackboard is I can go into Blackboard, I can assign every single assignment with a goal, and then I can run reports. And it's been very enlightening as well to see this, to see our courses. And I can do it on a global level, or I can do it on an individual level based on the work that the faculty has gone into with this worksheet. And then here's the best part. We now have a fully met standards of all of the standards based on, again, this is based on my review of it and as I've worked through the faculty. So once this is done, and I don't know if I have any questions specifically to this, so we'll move on for a second here. I just have a few more slides and then we can get to some more questions and if you have some specifics about the worksheet. talk a little bit about. So again, as we're going through the journey, to me, and I'll just give you my experience, it has revolutionized how I do my work as an instructional designer, and even as a faculty, as I review my courses that I'm personally teaching. But it has helped me with the faculty. It's helped me to work with them through all the roadblocks that we come across, and because you can design a course over 2 or 3 months. But this helps us keep on track knowing that we're meeting standards. We're not just both going off and trying to hope at the end, hope and pray that we get a good course. We're actually designing toward a goal. And so have we arrived? I'll share a little bit about where I am in this process. I have so far, since December of 2019, I've done 37 of these. And again, I'm the only instructional designer. So I've worked through 37 of them that we have labeled as now they are eligible for official reviews. We did send our first course for an official review in February, and we found out that it did meet the standards. And I really think that working through that worksheet helped us to do that. My goal is to just keep picking from those 37 courses to moving them toward the official review. I know with this coronavirus, everything has gotten a little crazy, and but I hope to pick that back up again in the summer to get a few more courses done. And I have 15 courses that are now in the process of going through this course design. I want to give you a little bit of feedback from the faculty. Some of these faculty, by the way, I just want to let you know, they were my guinea pigs. I kind of thrust this upon them, but they were very gracious. And so I really valued their feedback that they gave me. They said that, I need to move my thing here a little bit. Okay. Its biggest kudo was securing measures of assignment to objectives, as it provided a retrospective review of the course contents. I have to tell you that this faculty was probably the most, she looked at that worksheet and said, I can't do this. So I had to very slowly walk her through that. But I think she found a lot of value at the end, and I was happy to hear that. Another instructor said the QM4 spreadsheet seems intimidating at first, yes. However, I found it to be a helpful tool to ensure that my course objectives, learning objectives, and assessments were aligned. I know now with certainty moving forward that my course is well designed and that students will have a positive learning experience taking my course. Just the fact that he talked about his course and weekly learning outcomes and assessments aligning was huge for me, because those are conversations that I had in the past, but not to the level that I'm having now. Another quote, the use of the worksheet was a great benefit, helping me align the course objectives, the unit objectives, and the assignments. At first I was skeptical. Remember, these are my early adopters, but after completing my first new course using the worksheet, I'm 100% on board. And let me just share one more. This is Chip, who I was showing you his particular worksheet. Says the QM design approach helped me align the course, general learning outcomes, chapter learning outcomes, activities, assignments, and tests. By using eLearning's Excel spreadsheet, I could visually see the strengths and weaknesses of my course. My pedagogical process was not disadvantaged in any way. I then redesigned many assignments to better align with the learning outcomes. I don't know what else I can ask from a faculty that has to say something like that. To me, that's amazing, because it's all student-centered. We want to make a really good course and make sure that they're aligned. So I was really excited with some of this feedback. One of the things that we've also done as we've looked at this worksheet, this is an intense process to go through. This isn't just, oh, we're going to kind of make a course and we have some guidelines. You're actually going through an internal QM review in my mind. So we decided to do some badging, internal badging, showing that we believe that what you've gone through should get some recognition. So we've done some badging. These are our badges. Our Web 2 is our hybrid class, and our Web 3 is our fully online. So I actually attached this to the course that the instructor just completed. I send the congratulations to them. I send it to their department chair and their dean to get some recognition. And we also have a website for, we call it our blog, with a lot of faculty how-tos and training. But we also have a section where we talk about our E-stars and our excellence in course design. So I've been putting all their names out and all the courses that they've done. And I've been amazed at the level of engagement after I did that, because faculty are like, wait, I heard about this. I want to get my course done. So I've been getting more and more courses coming to me because they want to go through this process. And then once they do go through the process, Chip that I was just sharing, I should have him on one time. He can share with his experience, but he's actually done 3 other courses because he was so impressed with how this particular process helped him to design his courses. So, and just let me do a little summary here, and then we'll get to some more questions. The first thing that I would suggest is you're moving toward quality, and I like the title of this whole conference, Reimagining Quality Pathways. Stop 1 in your journey is institutional agreement on your destination. And for us, it was using the QM standards. We had been part of Quality Matters for years, probably long before I was there. And, but we kind of lost track of that a little bit. We never thought it wasn't a good idea, but I think we needed a champion, and I became that champion. So I helped reinvigorate that a little bit in our institution, especially using this worksheet, because I could show them a tangible thing that I can have at the end of this, this quality course, and the evidence really to prove that. The step 2, stop 2, I should say, on our journey is work with faculty and use this worksheet. And I will give it to you. I'll have my email at the end of this and a URL for you. I will send it to you. I have a little YouTube video that I can also share with you about some of the ways that you can use the worksheet and the changes that you can make as needed. So that's the next stop. Talked about how you initially show the faculty this worksheet, because it can be a little intimidating, so you don't want to overwhelm them. Stop 3 is using this worksheet to do course check-ins and status updates. It's a great tool to really look at your courses to see, and to even see where we're not meeting our standards. We actually modified several times. We modified our master course based on using this worksheet. After going through about 10 courses, I realized, boy, every course, we're not meeting these 3 standards at all. So I went back to the master course and said, I need to fix the master course. And those sort of things will help you as well as you're looking through your courses. And then finally, giving them, as you finish it, give them this tangible evidence that we finished this course based on an internal review. We do an internal badging, but also the incentive is, as several faculty now want to, now that they've gone through this process, they are ready and willing to then go through the next step of going through the official QM process. Not all of our faculty have the applying the QM rubric, but I am going to be working on that based on this worksheet, because I have been getting a lot of positive feedback on, I can introduce Quality Matters and I can show them how it will help them design a really good quality course. And then finally, I do have my information, and someone mentioned that it doesn't look like there's anything downloadable on that page. I thought I did it right, so I apologize. You can email me if you want, but if you want the worksheet, I have a blank public worksheet, which of course isn't filled out at all, that you can use at your institution. Again, you have to be a Quality Matters member, which I'm assuming you all are, and you cannot share it outside your institution. I even tell my own personal faculty, they can't share it outside with other people outside the institution. And so make sure you do that. And then there's my email at the bottom as well. I'd love to hear from you. And if you do end up using this worksheet, I'd love to get feedback on that as well. So I think I'm done with the I guess the formal presentation. So I'd like to address some questions as we have them.
Thanks, Patty. Yes, we have about 10 minutes left and we have 6 questions in our Q&A. So the first question is from Chuck from Charles. Did you tweak the design rubric after you ran a few courses through the process?
Good question, Chuck. Yes, I did quite a bit. Well, I shouldn't say quite a bit. There were a few areas that I found that we just weren't meeting. And so I did go back and I looked at the QM, our master course template, and I'll tell you real quick where they were. Let me stop this and go back to a worksheet real quick. Interestingly enough, for us, our course overview, some of this particular information, the institutional accessibilities, some of the instructions on academic support, student services, we had one little sentence about that, and we felt that that really was not meeting that standard. So we've actually beefed that up quite a bit. We did some things with looking at the technology and computer skills and digital information literacy. We had like one sentence on that. So we actually now have a folder linking to all this other information. So it really did help us look at our master courses, because we do require at some level that the faculty use the template. Mostly that start here information. Obviously they can do their weeks. They have some leeway based on the standards though. I always make them look at the standards, and generally they come over to my side when they realize that, well, we're not quite meeting those standards. But yeah, so to answer your question, we have made some changes over as we've been looking through these courses.
Okay, the next question is, there's a link to the materials, but nothing to download on the page. Will the PowerPoint in the sample template be available? So I believe the sample template is available through the tiny URL, correct?
Yeah, I am requesting that people actually go to the URL. It's a Google form, very short, name, email, institution, and your role. And the only reason I'm doing that is I do want to keep track of this, because as then maybe the next rubric, this is version 6, but as things change, or if I make a significant change on here that I realize something, I want to make sure I get that out to everybody. So just fill out the form or send me an email and I will send you the worksheet.
Okay, so another question is, I would love to use this worksheet, but it is intimidating. I was wondering, would you be willing to share one of your completed worksheets with us as well?
Sure. Yeah, I could do that. Probably I could do the one that I have here, maybe a more recent one, because I have made some changes. I've even made some changes on how I give back my feedback to the faculty. So yes, I'll make a note to get a completed one. And I do have a YouTube video. I can't remember how long it is, less than 10 minutes, that I do walk you through how to update it if you're not familiar with Excel. Pretty much everything is done for you. Like I said, some of these tabs here, like if I type here, it will automatically show up over here. Now there are times where I've had to add and delete rows, so that's my YouTube video. I kind of share that with you. And feel free to email me. I don't mind getting on a Zoom just to walk through it with you, because it has helped me tremendously. And I know that it's helping faculty as well. So I'd be more than willing to walk you through it.
Okay, another question is, do you have a training course that you have the faculty go through?
We do. We have 3 training courses. One is, we just call it our Blackboard Basics. Every faculty has to do it that's going to teach at our college. And then we have Teaching Online, which if you're going to teach a Web 2 or hybrid or a fully online, you have to take the Teaching Online course. That's where we introduce principles of teaching online, a little bit of quality matters, accessibility, things like that. If you're going to design a course, so if you're going to go to another level, you have to take a course called Design Matters. And that goes a little bit further into design principles, quality matters. We talk about this worksheet. We talk about the process we have at our college. It's very interactive. I think it's 6 weeks. We have, my colleague actually does that training, but it's very interactive. They have to create rubrics and assessments and do alignments. And so we do training. I think what I'd like to do more in the future though is put some more of those faculty through the Quality Matters training, but we do have our own internal. Yeah.
Okay. Another question is, what exactly is the badge that is awarded?
It is simply this beautiful image here. Let me show it to you again. It's not a badge through any sort of official thing. I'll just let you know that. It's just our internal, my boss created these two images. And so what I do is on our Start Here folder in a course, I literally put this badge in there, and then I have a little statement saying that this course has met, gone through a process of internal review. I don't even remember what I say, but it's basically more internal. It's not Quality Matters. I don't even mention that word, but I say that from our East Stark State Department, we have deemed this based on the rigorous design process that this course meets the qualifications for excellence in course design. So the faculty gets the badge in the course. We've talked about doing things where we could give a faculty the badge, maybe they could put it on their door or something, but it's really just right now, we put it in the course. And then I also have acknowledgement out on our website showing the faculty's name and the course that they designed. So,
Okay, we
but
have about...
It's been a great incentive. I'll let you know, who doesn't like getting a badge or a little star or some sort of recognition. So it's just our way of giving them that recognition.
Definitely. All right, we've got about 3 more minutes left and a couple more questions. How long does it take average time to develop a course following this process?
It takes, I would say, average about 3 months. It seems like a lot of times I'll get my courses, the faculty will start coming to me in February, December, and then we're usually finishing up by probably about this time. I'm actually starting to get worksheets flooding in right now, or at least people saying, hey, I'm ready for you to let's look at this. So I'd say about 3 months time. I wouldn't say that it's shortened the design process. It's just made it more intentional. Wait, I'll back up one step. When we get to the end, I'm finding that we don't have a lot of, okay, we need to go back and look at some of these things. So the design process has, I guess, technically has been shortened by that. Because I don't have to go back and say, okay, I sure wish we would have talked 2 months ago. So, yeah.
And do you meet personally or via the web with the instructors?
I would say 99% of the time pre-coronavirus, I would meet face-to-face with faculty. And I always pull up the worksheet toward the end of our conversation. And I talk about it more from the standpoint, but that this is what I'm going to use to help us go through this design process. That helps a lot too. The faculty, again, I'm not trying to hide anything from them. They don't have to fill this out. They have a couple things they need to do. Some faculty liked it though, but most of the time I meet with them face to face. I show them the worksheet. I don't even send the worksheet till we're more about midway through the process. Now, lately, of course, I've had to work online with faculty, but it still works just as well. I can show them the worksheet and we can walk through it. Yeah.
Okay. In our last minute here, we've got 2 more questions. Did I hear correctly? Do you use a master course process in which all courses have a master course based upon a pre-approved university, college, or program template?
We do. We use a master course template. I'll let you know though, I mean, academic freedom, if they are under contract to design a course, which is 98% of the courses I look at, yes, they do use our master course template. However, I always give them flexibility within the template as long as they're meeting standards. And again, that's another great thing that this worksheet has done, because the faculty will want to do something else and I'll say, okay, well, let's look at the standard. Do you think that we're meeting the standard? And sometimes we both say, no, we really probably should do it this way. So that has helped. But we do have master courses, and I have updated our master course based on my experience using this worksheet. Yeah.
Okay, and the last question here is there much different in the design of the online course if the course is hybrid instead of fully online?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that some, like, you might not have as many discussion forums, for example. So I have to look at the, remember, I have to look at more of the online portion when I'm looking at assessments and their, how are we doing those online. So I have to take that into consideration, because there are times where I want to say, hey, you know, we really should do more student engagement. And then I remember, okay, well, it is a hybrid class, so they could get that in the classroom. So sometimes I have those conversations. So yeah, I would say there is some, but a lot of times what I do with faculty is I tell them, let's design this course as if it was fully online. And then we can pull back a little bit, knowing that some of this could be done in the classroom. So I don't know if that answered that, but I do think there's a little bit of a difference, but I prefer design more toward the fully online, knowing that some of the online can be done in the classroom.
Great. Thank you very much, Patty, for your presentation. I'm going to stop our recording now and share my screen.